Hello everyone, Simon Jacobson here for another episode of Meaningful Live. In order to arrive, you must first depart. What is the secret to growth and success? This program is dedicated by Robert Klein in loving memory of his son, brother, and father, Joseph Klein. May his soul continue to be a source of blessing to you, Robert, to your entire family, to all of us. Now, what does that mean? This cryptic statement, in order to arrive, you must first depart. It's one of the most powerful messages you'll ever hear. Based on the opening verse of this week's biblical chapter. And here's the story. Abraham. The famous Abraham, not Abraham Lincoln, biblical Abraham, the patriarch, the father of all nations, the father of monotheism, the father of all nations, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, even Buddhism, Brahmin, all trace back to Abraham. So the story begins. Abraham is told by God, Lech Lecha, translated, go unto you, travel, go on a journey, leave your land, your birthplace, and the home of your parents, and go to the land that I will show you. That begins a journey that is still going on till this very day. A journey that has changed history, that has changed destiny. What is the meaning of this statement? Firstly, why is it so relevant even? But more importantly, when you give someone directions to go somewhere, you don't have to focus on the point of departure. Everybody knows where they are. You have to tell them, where do you want them to go to? East, west, north, south. Which country, which city, which street number, some landmark. And here, everything is upside down. When it comes to the destination, it's a very vague, the land that I will show you. But where is that land? When it comes to the point of departure, three seemingly synonymous statements. Your land, your birthplace, and the home of your parents, which happened to be with Abraham, all three were the same. So what is the meaning of this? The answer is this is not just a GPS, travel directions. This is a cosmic, a spiritual, a psychological, an emotional journey. And not just of Abraham, but all of us. That when you embark on a journey, wherever it is you want to go, whatever your objective may be, whatever you consider success. So many people talk about focusing on the destination. What's your objective? Spell it out. Where do you want to reach? What are your goals? What he's telling him here is this, that the secret to really moving anywhere is making sure that you free yourself of the past. That's why many of us take on resolutions, New Year resolutions or other resolutions. How long do they last? A day, even if that? Why is it so difficult to make a move, to change something? So we know the power of a habit, the power of routine, of status quo, the inertia. But what he does here is break it down into three specific traps. And they all go under one rubric called subjectivity. Subjectivity. Our subjective natures blind us and paralyze us. And there are three types. Self-love, the natural inherent bias and prejudices that create blind spots. Minimize, don't let us see a clear picture. That's one thing that can stop us from moving forward. Could include pride, vanity, insecurity, fear. The second is parental influences. And we all grow up in our homes. And in our impressionable years, we are shaped by the attitudes of our parents, for good or for bad. That can remain and haunt us and define us. And third is peer pressure, social pressure. What the masses are saying, what others are saying. You want to fit in. So Abraham is being told, leave all these three behind. Your natural subjectivity, parental influences, and peer pressure, social pressure. And then you'll discover who you are. Someone asks you, who are you? So besides the fact that many people will just give you their business card, that's what you do, not who you are, can we really answer who you are? How do you know what you are is not some carbon copy or a clone of your father or your mother, or your siblings, or others that you've copied? Or the herd mentality and the conformity that so many of us are subject to. So when someone asks who you are, you really have to be stripped and suspend all those influences. Then you can discover who you truly are. That's why when it comes to destination, he just tells them, go to the land that I will show you who you really are. Free yourself from your own subjective blind spots by consulting with objective people, by reviewing and not just doing something that may not be the correct path for you. Free yourself from parental influences by saying, what does my voice say? What is my song that I have to sing? Free yourself from peer pressure and social pressure. What do you feel? Just because everybody's doing something doesn't mean you have to do it. Then you'll discover who you truly are. What is your voice? Independent of those forces that have influenced you. And I'm not saying those forces aren't always bad. They can be very positive. But you have to, as an adult, be able to weigh that and say, you know what? Not everything my father and my mother told me was absolutely correct. Not all their judgmentalism or their anger or their bitterness I have to embrace. Maybe some things, yes, but it should be with discretion, with review, with evaluation, with intelligence. The same thing, you have subjective interests, by all means, but check them. Maybe they're blinding you. Maybe they're not allowing you to see the big picture. And same thing with social, peer, culture, the cultural pressures of our time. And today there are many. We're inundated, technological-wise. What's being streamed into our minds? You know, by the age 20, this was already 40 years ago, I think, 30 years ago. By age 20, the average Western man or woman has seen or heard over 1 million advertisements. Now it's probably much more than that. Subliminal. What effect does it have on us? And we can't be buying all those products, and they're not all good for us. So there are many, many forces, marketing forces out there trying to shape our minds. Politically, commercially, entertainment. A lot of it is very destructive stuff. Some of it is more innocuous. But it's all trying to shape you. Who are you? Free yourself of all of that. Think about it. That is the secret to true success and true growth. Because you're not making decisions based on others and even on your own subjective prejudices and biases. And that's what made Abraham great. Once he embraced that, that's exactly what he did. So even though he grew up in an idol manufacturer in a pagan world, in a pagan home, an idol manufacturer's home, and there was plenty parental influences, and though the culture was very self-interest oriented, and though he had his own, I'm sure, subjective self-interests, yet he rose and transcended above it all and pioneered a new path. A life dedicated to virtue, to justice, to kindness, to charity, to compassion, to all the values that we cherish today. But he was all alone when he did it. Today it's become mainstream. Still far from perfect. But you have countries, institutionalized freedoms, democracies, respecting human rights, at least on paper. But that's a big accomplishment, unprecedented. It wasn't that way 250 years ago, before the United States was the first republic, free republic. And even today, even in a free republic, there are plenty of forces trying to influence us and shape us. But prior to that, monarchs ruled, the church ruled. And if you were lucky, you had someone a little benevolent, but there were no rights, there was no privacy, there was no freedom. All the human rights that we talk about. It all began a journey almost 4,000 years ago, where a man and his wife Sarah, Abraham and Sarah, went on a journey. And they left behind, at least they recognized, we're all subjective. You don't become no longer subjective, but you recognize that you're subjective. You acknowledge it. The worst thing is when your subjectivity makes you think you're objective. Then you distort. They went on a journey, freeing themselves from these tentacles, these forces, and finding who they truly are. We are on that same journey. This has been Simon Jacobson. MeaningfulLife.com is our website. If this message was meaningful to you, please share it with others. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. And of course, love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your feedback. Thank you so much, and be blessed.